Welcome back to the Professor's Lab. I'm Professor V, and this is round 3 of the League Cup that happened at Die Hard Games on July 20th, 2024. If you didn't know, Die Hard League happens every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, featuring casual and tournament play of whatever format everyone wants. More info in the description, and check out Pokemon's event locator for premiere and other events at the shop, such as League Challenges, League Cups, pre-releases, and more. Please hit that like button right quick, subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications, say what you need to say in the comments, and all that other good free stuff. But anyways, let's research this game. On the left, Palkia, Articuno. On the right, Lost Zone. Monkey Dory, Articuno hit the board as our Palkia player starts us off with their turn 1. Earthen Vessel discards a card in order to search the deck for 2 basic water energy to add to the hand. A Super Rod is down, so we need to keep that in mind for the game if it ends up mattering. I have a feeling they play more than one of those, though in this deck, as water energy is attached to the bench, Articuno and Tatsugiri uses its Attract Customers ability. When it's in the active spot, you can look at the top 6 cards of the deck and put a supporter card you find there into your hand. No supporter card found there, so things are passed over to our Lost Zone player, who starts out with Radiant Charizard in the active, Cramorant on the bench. Next is Chorus Experiment. That supporter lets you look at the top 5 cards of the deck and put 3 cards into your hand, 2 into the Lost Zone. Ooh, double energy being lost potentially here. Okay. Gonna go with Hisuian Heavy Ball and Darkness Energy into the Lost Zone. Those 3 other cards must have been very important, as a Comfey joins the field now. Basic switch means that Comfey moves into the active spot. Nest Ball is played next in order to search the deck for a basic Pokemon to add to the bench. Depends on what's in hand for what's targeted by the Nest Ball here, but I think it's pretty okay to grab another Comfey. These Lost Zone decks like to have at least 2 Comfey on the field. So first things first, we have to establish our board and our general game plan in order to be successful at the Pokemon trading card game. Comfey in the active spot uses flower selecting to look at the top 2 cards of the deck, send one to the Lost Zone, and put the other one in the hand. Sableye is lost now, as the other card was put into the hand. I missed which card was preserved over that one, but Rescue Board gets attached to the active, giving it free retreat basically to move into that Cramorant. Lost Vacuum is played now in order to send a card to the Lost Zone, to send a tool or stadium to the Lost Zone. His skateboard targeted there. Now there are 5 cards in the Lost Zone, so that Cramorant can be very aggressive here. It has the Lost Provisions ability, which says if there are 4 more cards in the Lost Zone, Cramorant can use its attacks for free, and it has the Spit Instantly attack for 110 damage, more than enough to KO the Tatsugiri. Articuno flies to the active spot. Play resumes on its side. Water energy attached to it, and a Nest Ball is played to search the deck for a basic to add to the bench. Articuno is now fully powered up and ready to attack with its Wild Freeze attack. 70 damage. This Pokemon does 50 damage to itself, but most importantly, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Very good to use against large Pokemon. Articuno is found off of that Nest Ball and put onto the bench. Next, an Irida is played in order to search the deck for an item card and a Water-type Pokemon. Unfair Stamp and Origin Form Palkia V are found here. Unfair Stamp, the powerful A-Spec item, is live. Origin Form Palkia V hits the board. Looks like a technical machine. Can't quite tell. I think it's Devolution is attached to the bench Articuno, mostly to get it out of the hand since the Unfair Stamp is played. You can only play that if your opponent took a KO on their last turn. When you do, both players shuffle their hands into their deck. The Stamp player gets to draw 5 from the top of the shuffled deck, and the opponent has to draw 2. That's with a supporter being played this turn. So pretty good series of events our Articuno player is having here. Looks like there's a... Nope, just a Palkia V. I thought that was a V-star for the next turn. But there's still some action to take as Earthen Vessel discards an Articuno to search the deck for 2 basic water energy to add to the hand. And Articuno uses its Wild Freeze attack, 70 damage, 50 damage to itself, and the opponent's active is paralyzed. Play resumes over on its side. Paralyzed means that Pokemon cannot attack or retreat, and at the end of the turn it is unparalyzed, arguably the most powerful status condition in the Pokemon trading card game. Manaphy hits the board to protect those bench Pokemon from attack damage with this Wave Veil ability. And we're thinking about a boss's orders here. No, actually a counter catcher, or prime catcher, excuse me. That powerful item ace-spec card is like Guzma. You move one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot, and then you do the same. Monkey Dory is targeted and moves to the active. Comfey floats to the active spot. We got around the paralysis there. Flower selecting now, looks at top 2, sends a Comfey to the lost zone. Keeps that other card. Basic switch now moves that Cramorant back into the active spot. Its Spit Innocently is still for free. Thanks to Lost Provisions, it takes the KO on the opposing 110 HP Monkey Dory. Articuno flies into the active spot, and play resumes over on its side. Replacement Monkey Dory put down onto the bench, Darkness Energy attached to it, activating its ability. Boss's Orders now brings that heavy retreat cost Radiant Charizard into the active spot. And I think a KO happens on it. Yeah, a 2-price turn here. Okay, anyways, Monkey Dory's ability, Adrenabrain, says if this Pokemon has any Darkness Energy attached, move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. 3 damage counters move from that damaged Articuno onto the bench Cramorant means a KO on it, right? No, we just move it. We just heavily damage it. Okay. Alright, so no, not a 2-price turn. Excuse me, I was getting way ahead of myself there. So yeah, Adrenabrain puts some more damage on that Cramorant, and then Articuno uses, I think it used its big attack, yep, Wild Freeze, 70, Paralyze, 50 to itself. 70 times 2 is 140. Still not enough to take the KO on the Radiant Charizard, but Monkey Dory can clean that up later. Radiant Charizard, I believe, is paralyzed. Ooh, did they just draw a pass? I'm going to have to rewind that one here. Alright, let's see. So Articuno active, Adrenabrain happens, and then a Wild Freeze, right? Yep, they drew over on the Lost Zone side. They kind of consulted their discard pile, and then they passed. Ouch. Back over to Palkia's side. Palkia gets a water energy on it. We have Adrenabrain to move damage counters from the active Articuno to the active Charizard to take a mid-turn KO there. Cramorant moves into the active spot here with 10 HP left. Double Monkey Dory would be glorious here, but we can clean up the KO with an Ice Swing, I believe. Articuno has the first attack. Ice Swing just does 20 damage, so you do that so that way you don't damage yourself since you're taking a KO anyways, I suppose. Comfey moves to the active spot and play resumes over on its side. How can our Lost Zone player respond here in this mid-game? League exclusive Buddy Buddy Poffin played here. That item card lets the player search their deck for 2 basic Pokemon, up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less. Just a Comfey pulled out of the deck here with the Poffin. I guess the trainer eats the other Poffin, or just another Pokemon that's on the bench. Either way, we've got a card out of the deck that we didn't want in there. Now we're going to select some flowers, like the top 2. You got to keep the Super Rod, maybe, but it just depends on what that other card was. Maybe it was a Psychic. Yeah, it looks like a basic Psychic Energy. So we're going to send that to the Lost Zone. 2 energy in the Lost Zone currently. As a Super Rod is played now to shuffle back into the deck, Radiant Charizard and Cramorant. Artisan will allow the player To bring that Cramorant back onto the field, as Artisan lets you search your deck for a basic Pokemon with no rule box to add to your bench. Okay, our Lost Zone player is rebuilding a bit here. Cramorant can take the KO on the opposing Articuno. So switch cart into that Cramorant, spit innocently for the knockout. Origin Form Palkia moves to the active spot and play resumes on its side as they use that golden full art Artisan for their own benefit here to search the deck for a basic Pokemon with no rule box to add to the bench. That block Snorlax is found and established onto the board now. Energy attached to the active Origin Form Palkia V. And let's see what else our players got. Just a bench of another Origin Form Palkia V, and things are passed back over to our Lost Zone player. How can our Lost Zone player respond here with a spit innocently for 110, threatening the two-shot on the opposing Origin Form Palkia V that didn't evolve an attack last turn? Play is over back on Palkia's side. Doesn't seem to be that there's much playable in hand. First is Adrenabrain to move damage, 3 damage from that active Palkia to the bench. Manaphy on the other side. Switch cart heals off that damage, almost 30 more damage from the Origin Form Palkia V as it moves to the bench. The fresh Origin Form Palkia V in the active spot, followed by an Iono. Both players shuffle their hands, put them at the bottom of their deck, and then draw cards from the top equal to their remaining prize cards. 4 and 3 here in this mid-game. Round 3 of the Die Hard League Cup. And things are passed back over to our Lost Zone player. What an interesting mid-game our players are having here. First is a course experiment for our Lost Zone player to look at the top 5 cards of the deck, keep 3, and send 2 to the Lost Zone. Looks like the Ace Spec was found there, so you can't get rid of that, as Nest Ball and Super Rod are lost now. Maybe it was just a shiny chorus. Hard for me to see here in the professor's lab. Spit innocently onto the active, threatening the 2-shot as things are passed, or things continue over on Palkia's side, where a Irida unlocks things for our player here, as they can search for a water-type Pokemon, basic or evolution, and an item card. That Origin Form Palkia V-Star, of course, found straight away from the deck. Earthen Vessel now is played, discarding a card in order to search the deck for 2 basic energy, water, and darkness here. And we're going to start seeing some KOs being taken by Origin Form Palkia V-Star, I imagine. Just a big Pokemon that needs to be dealt with and is very aggressive, very efficient attacker. Especially if you can build 2 of them. Monkey Dory put onto the bench, darkness energy attached to it. Origin Form Palkia V-Star uses its Starport of V-Star power to accelerate some basic water energy from the discard pile onto the field. 2 accelerated here onto that active Palkia V-Star. Its Subspace Swell attack is now powered up. Double Adrenabrain online means 6 damage counters total can be moved from Palkia's side of the field to the opponent's side. 6 damage counters put onto the bench Comfey, healing them from the active Pokemon. And we attack with Subspace Swell, 60 plus 20 for each benched Pokemon. Both yours and your opponent's, more than enough to take the KO on the 110 HP Cramorant in the active spot. Tying things up in prizes. Our Palkia player does against our Lost Zone player. Their turn to promote an active Pokemon before their turn starts. It's gotta be a Comfey. Which one, of course, is the question, but it's the heavily damaged one. Floats into the active spot, and play resumes over on its side. how can they deal with these big HP V-Star Pokemon? Starting off with a flower selecting to look at the top 2 cards of the deck. Keep one of them, Lost Zone the other. Our players consulting the discard pile and the Lost Zone, trying to better inform their decision. They seem to have a hard one here. Energy and a supporter card potentially. I couldn't quite see it. Yeah, that Hassle being sent to the Lost Zone. Valuing the energy, as there are already a couple energy cards lost this game. If we can't have energy, we can't attack, unless you're Cramorant, I guess. But Artisan is being played now. That Stadium that allows the player to search their deck for a basic non-rule box Pokemon to add to the bench. Sableye joining the party here now. Sableye's Lost Mine attack requires 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone, but if so, Lost Mine allows the player to put 12 damage counters on their opponent's Pokemon in any way they like. At the cost of a basic Psychic that's attached to that Sableye now. Switch Cart now heals off some damage from that Comfey, so Manaphy can move into the active spot. Switch Cart now moves the Manaphy and heals it, so that way Sableye's in the active. Sableye uses Lost Mine to put 11 damage counters on one of the Monkey Dory. One more damage counter to be placed on the other Monkey Dory. We don't like them and their shenanigans. As player zooms over on their side, Radiant Greninja put onto the field. Both a powerful support Pokemon and attacker. Support meaning concealed cards, discard an energy, draw 2 cards. And its attack is very powerful as well. We'll get to it if it comes up, of course, as an Iono is played. You guys know what that one does by now. Shuffle up that hand, put it at the bottom of the deck, and then draw cards from the top equal to your remaining prize cards. Water Energy put onto the bench. Articuno. Adrenabrain moves 3 damage counters from the active to the bench Comfey, keeping that pressure up. And Subspace Swell takes the KO on the 80 HP Sableye. Comfey, damaged Comfey, moves to the active spot, and play resumes on its side as they start things off with a Artisan, I believe, to search the deck for a Cramorant to add to the bench. Okay, we've got our free attacker, but I don't think we're anywhere close to taking or cleaning up the KO on the active V-Star Pokemon. So, flower selecting to see what's on the top that might be useful. Buddy Buddy Poffin, not so much, so let's send that to the Lost Zone. Jet Energy attached to the bench Comfey, moving it into the active spot. It now uses its flower selecting ability. And our player is consulting the discard pile, as we may have a tough choice with this flower selecting here, as they try to piece a comeback in this game, or at least to try to keep pace in this game. Magma Basin sent to the Lost Zone here. Comfey manually retreats into the other Comfey as the third flower selecting is being resolved here, sending a counter catcher to the Lost Zone. 2 prize cards to 2 prize cards these players have in this endgame of this round 3 of the League Cup, as things are passed back over to the Origin Form Palkia player, giving them the initiative here. Adrenabrain moves 3 damage counters from the active Palkia V-Star to the damaged Comfey, taking the KO on it, and then the Palkia just does Subspace Swell to knock out the active Pokemon for the last prize card of the game. The TM Crisis Punch being flashed there. What a close game we had here. So good. So, of course, we have another round 3 video here, but we'll wrap things up in both of them, I guess. Congrats to our League Cup champs in each age division. And, of course, to you all for playing some Pokemon. Thank you. What do you think of this video in the commentary? Please leave feedback in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time in the Professor's Lab.